So hi everyone. Today's session is Learning Outcome 4 and my name is Shazia Khan. The learning outcome is today to understand how to plan your own personal and professional development in health and social care. So we'll look at the element of how you would plan a personal development plan. Before we go into learning outcome 4, I want to just give you a summary of what we did in the last learning outcome, which was learning outcome 3, which was the session we did yesterday, which we looked at understanding how reflective practice supports personal and professional development. We also looked at elements of reflective practice, what it is, and we looked at different models and theoretical models such as Kolb's learning styles, and we looked at Kolb's learning styles in regards to concrete experience, reflective experience, and observation. We also looked at elements of abstract conceptualization and active experimentation. We looked in learning outcome 4 at 3 at learning styles such as concrete experiences, reflective, abstract, and active experimentation. Sorry. We then looked at Honey and Mumford's theory on learning styles and looked at things like reflectors, theorists, pragmatists, and activists, and what each one did in regards to the learning styles of individual people, because everyone learns differently. Not everyone learns the same, so the way everyone learns is totally different to what other people learn. So I could learn different to, Diane, and Diane could learn different to Henry. So everyone learns differently, and that's how things happen in real life as well. We then went on to look at some the impact of our own attitudes, values, and beliefs on provision and practice of care. So we looked at why our beliefs and values play a big role in health and social care. We also looked at elements of how to describe yourself. We looked at some questions that we looked at. We also looked at personal values, our attitudes and our beliefs when it comes to what we think when we're working and when we're working around different people, and what our beliefs and attitudes are. We also looked at professional values, organizational values, and we also looked at reflecting on our own learning. So looking at self-reflection, why that is so important with regards to the element of working in health and social care. And we looked at elements of also looking at assessing how reflective practice supports professional development, CPD. So different types of CPD, such as shadowing, mentoring, elements of, reading a journal article, maybe watching a program could be part of CPD. So we looked at elements of that and how that impacted on professional development and reflective practice. We looked at the role of reflection in CPD and how it relates to different elements of the benefits of a reflective practice, such as things like improving your self-awareness, making you, be up to date with things as well. It's so important that you're up to date. It's important that we working in the profession are up to date, and we are making sure that, we have elements of personal characteristics in place to elements of facilitating any sort of learning and things like that. So that was learning outcome 3. Now we're going into learning outcome 4, and that is to understand how to plan your own professional and personal development in health and social care. So stages in life where we have to do a planning. Why is it important to plan? Why do you think it's so important to plan our professional development and personal development? Why do you think it's good to have learning needs in place, targets in place, mentoring, coaching? Why do you think that it's really important to put these targets in place? Diane, why do you think it's so important? Diana?
Yeah,
Why do you
Um,
think it's so important to have targets and, try to achieve these targets, how long you're going to take? Why do you think it's so important?
I would say we need to set targets so that every second and every time we know what we have achieved, and so that we'll have something, I don't know.
Yeah, you have a guide there, don't you? So you make sure
Yeah,
that you're
so you have
reviewing
a
them.
guide, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
you
making
keep
sure that you're
reviewing and
taking,
seeing
yeah,
what you're doing, what you've
and what
achieved.
steps you're going to take. So it's really important to identify that.
Yeah.
So, key terminology, we're looking at what personal development is. And again, personal development is a continuous process of working to improve yourself, such as your skills. It could be developing your capabilities, making sure that you are, your overall knowledge is at your full potential. And then we've got professional development. And again, that is where you will look at, if you're working, you're making sure that you're ongoing with your skills and knowledge and experience and expertise in that area, but also that you've got training in place, you've got existing skills in place, and you're attending courses, you're attending workshops, you're making sure you're up to date and you're learning all the time because it's really important, especially within health and social care profession, that you're up to date. Why is that so important, Henry? Why do you think it's so important to be up to date?
Yeah, I think it's important to be up to date, to have an informed, updated information,
Yeah.
so that you'll be able to implement it in your work life, and as well as help you impact in people's life. Because when you have outdated information, you you obviously have the tendency not to be meeting up with the demands of the
Yes.
boss, and the expectation of your services at the same time. So
Yeah. So you need to make sure you're up to date, you have a knowledge. If there's anything new that's coming, you're able to identify that knowledge and able to plan and outline everything. We've got 4.1, which is outline the stages in planning and personal and professional development. So what we look at planning and professional development, there's 5 stages, analyzing. So you select the area of development. This is that you understand your own strengths and weaknesses. You need to understand if there's any areas improvement. Why do you think it's important to understand if there's any areas of improvement? So we're looking at the SAWS acronym here. Why do you think it's so important to understand any areas of developmental areas? It's important because it identifies that you need development in that area. You have to be realistic. Then you've got objectives. So you set yourself objectives. You make specific objectives smart, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. Then you've got actions in place that need to apply to them objectives. You record that and you sustain that, and it's really important you follow that element of it. Professional development plan is a PDP, and this is literally a roadmap of what you want to do, what you intend to do, and it's a document that says that you should set out what you want to do and how you would meet them. So, things like time, planning, implementing, trying to identify your professional skills. Why is it so important to have a professional development plan in place? Gina, why do you think it's so important to have a professional development plan in place?
So that you know when you have achieved what needs to be achieved.
Yes,
You know your goal, you know what you're working towards.
yes. And it's really important that you've got this in place because, it identifies, what you've got, a structured kind of a way for you to reflect on things, but also it's you're reflecting on your own learning. So you've got a plan in place. You're going to meet these targets, how you're going to meet these targets, and what you intend to do. It may be on your career, it may be a personal one, but it's a professional development plan is mainly to do with your element of making sure that you're doing it from a professional point of view. So it could be long-term goals. It could be short-term goals, what you intend to do, how you're going to reflect on that, and what actions you're going to put in place. So we've got how to write a personal development plan. The first one is there 7 steps to follow, and set yourself a goal. It's really important. Prioritize your goals. Make sure you've got priority in place. Set yourself deadlines. It's really important to set yourself deadlines. Make sure you've got deadlines in place, okay? And the reason is you will work towards them deadlines. Recognize any threats or opportunities. Develop your skills or increase your knowledge. Use the support network and measure your progress. A support network is really important. If you're putting together a personal development plan, you need someone there to support you. You need to set at the start of it, set your goals. So use the SMART acronym: specific, be measurable, be achievable, and be relevant and time bound. For example, you may have a goal in place that says, I want to improve my leadership skills. And you would set yourself a goal: complete a leadership certificate within 6 months to enhance my team development. So make sure you implement, your learning networks. Make sure, you have a supporting network in place. And you engage with other departments as well, because they will help you do that. And, check your progress all the time. Why do you think it's important to check your progress all the time?
Because you'll be able to measure
Of
your
things. Make sure you are
achievements
meeting your deadlines. Yeah,
and
it's
meet.
important to do that. So how to write a professional development plan. So, again, you follow them steps that you need to put in place. Define your results, identify your career goals, identify any sort of professional developments, identify the purpose of this. Make sure you create this vision for yourself. You need to make sure you're able to achieve it. So put goals in place, put time spans in place. Make sure you write it all down, evaluate it, and keep checking on it. It's really important. So these are some examples of personal development plan here. So someone's doing a personal development plan here, and it says, what are your long-term goals? What are your specific career goals? What are the key skills needed for each of your goals? And what skills do you need to work on, and what actions are you going to take to do this? So this personal development plan will identify areas that you need to be looking at, and then when are you going to complete it? So a time limit. So become a supervisor, become a team manager, become an area manager, and then it looks at each element of that. And this is a example of a PDP, a personal development plan on someone that wants to become an area manager position. So here's a template. So when it comes to doing your assignment area, you will be given, this is on Moodle, and you will be given this so you can use it to complete the task, okay? Does everyone understand that? So this is on
Yes.
Moodle for you, and this will be in the assignment discussion session, okay?
Yeah.
So the next one is explain how to identify development needs. How would you be able to identify your own developmental needs? Okay, China, how would you able to identify your needs?
First, I think you need to look at the current organization you're working for,
Yeah,
and what's there. Is there anything available?
yeah. Would you identify your own skills as well?
Yeah.
Yes, you need to identify your own skills. You need to make sure you set yourself clear expectations, and you need to make sure you include your self-reflection. Managers, colleagues, like said, what's it called? Sorry, China said, gather feedback, analyze, prioritize. Make sure you have a skills assessment where your gaps are. Where if there's any sort of gaps in your skills, you need to make sure you have identified them. Identifying developmental needs, really important to gather feedback. It's really important to take feedback from people, and we'll go through that in more detail. Reflecting and skills audit. So taking feedback. Sometimes people don't like taking feedback. Okay, and it's really good because it's an essential part of health and social care settings, and it's keeping you up to date. Actively listening is part of taking feedback and taking on board the information to improve. Some people think that they're better at everything, but, taking feedback is really good, even if it's from a manager or even if it's from a colleague. If you've been observed or anything and you're taking feedback, why do you think that helps you improve? Henry, why do you think feedback helps you improve?
Well, feedback would make you understand how well you're doing and what more you need to do to be able to meet up with the expectations.
Yes?
So I believe when you get a positive feedback,
Yes.
you're in line with what you're doing. When you're not getting
Excellent.
enough
Yeah.
feedback, you'll be able
Yeah.
to do more or
It's good. It's
reflect more
good.
on things to do.
It's
Yeah.
good to have feedback because it makes you reflect on it, doesn't it, Henry? It makes you
Yes.
reflect on your feedback and it makes you reflect on areas of improvement.
Yes.
Don't ever take feedback as criticism because it's reflecting. You're considering, acting on that feedback, but making an improvement in your life to try to respond. So, feedback is really important. Some people think it's a constructive feedback, but it's really important for you because it provides you that opportunity to perform and improve, and also it builds, your sense of being valued as well as an individual. So we've got team meetings and co-workers. So team meetings are crucial for any sort of organization because it makes you, it's a way of collaborating with each other, and different people, have different ideas, and you can have informal and formal support by providing advice or sharing things with each other. And these meetings, team meetings, provide a platform for sharing ideas, discussing any sort of progress and addressing any challenges. And it's a way where the teams can work effectively together to make sure that, they are collaborating with each other. So it's a way of team bonding. They build relationships with other co-workers, and getting feedback from others is really good because, you could have thought of an idea, but if someone else says it, it's really good to try and get that feedback from them. And, it could be taken into account what they're saying. It might have an impact on your learning. So, it's a way of sharing knowledge as well, but also your skills and bonding with the team members. When you have team meetings in your organizations, do you think it's a good thing to have them?
Yes.
Okay, why do you think they're so good to have team meetings?
It is important to have.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
Well,
what was that, Amaka?
it's important to have team meeting because during the team meeting, you are able to discuss areas that you are lacking and areas that need improvement,
Yeah,
things that you need to work on, and then encourage those who are doing well. It enables them to do much more better.
yeah,
So team
yeah. It's
meeting is very,
important to
very
have team
important.
meetings. And Henry, did you
You
have
you
anything
you
else to
you
say?
you you as well share ideas
Yeah,
how to improve upon your work
yeah,
and even uplift the image of your organization.
yes.
So
And it,
and
and it,
skills
it gives you a
skills are
chance.
shared. You learn from each other.
Yes,
You
it
learn
gives
from
you a
each
chance
other.
to build your team and improve your skills.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, Faustina. So reflective practice. This is really important because you're here to reflect, okay? And this is examining your one's experiences. So if you've got any issues or anything in the meeting, this is where you reflect. You reflective practice will help you learn and improve, and any actions. So it makes you self-aware of any sort of your own strengths and things like that. So reflective practice is really important, where the manager and the or supervisor can offer you any sort of guidance and support where they can improve your practice. Training and research, a really, really important part of any organization, be it health and social care, be it a shop, be it anywhere. training and research is really important because, for health and social care is required because you have to meet the care certificate, okay, as well as you have to have specialized training for certain roles. And, training and research are closely linked together. And with research, often you need specialized training. Many organizations offer, training, ethics, and development skills. And many organizations offer research training, and they offer benefits in regards to trying to get you improve your research skills and implement more research projects, so that it comes to a point where if you want to advance in your careers, then you have the skill to do it. And it's an essential part of any project. You have to do some research on some area. It may be formal in-house research, or it may be something that you have to take do maybe online, or it might be something that you have to do face to face outside the organization. But training and research is really important. I mean, I believe it's for any organization. Does anyone in their organization have quite a lot of training sessions? Sheena,
Yes,
do
we do have
do you think it's
lots of
good?
trainings. Yeah.
Do you think it's good, Sheena?
Yeah, it is. And we have some mandatory training that everyone has to do.
Okay.
And it shows on your profile, or whenever it's done, it shows that it's 100% done.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
that's good, because if you go to another organization, China, they will check that you've done training such as maybe health and safety training, mandatory training, it could be manual handling, but making sure that you've done that training, because some organizations take on training from other organizations and take that on board when they're employing you.
Yeah.
Skills audit, and here is a skills audit, which is a process of identifying and evaluating your skills, or it may be skills of you, or it may be skills of your team. Okay, and it's there to identify any skill gaps, but identify also what skills exist, and also your strengths and weaknesses. Making sure that that they're in place. So the benefits of skills audit is to look at things like identifying your skills gaps. It also inform training and development. They also look at strategic workforce planning. A skills audit will also improve employee performance. So what you're doing by addressing any skills gaps, making sure that you are provided the relevant training. So if you have any, elements of any training that is needed, your organization will provide you that training. Also, the audit is there for recruitment, allowing different organizations to focus on recruitment, and determine and gather data on what your skill set are. And it also helps you develop any action plans based on this analysis. And there is a skills audit available on Moodle for you to go on when it comes to doing your assignment discussion. This is a template here that we've got. So skills area, it looks at I can do this well. So you just tick which one. So organization of learning, information seeking skills. Okay, I can do this. Okay, but I need more practice. I can't do this. And priority development of this skill, very important. Number one. Number two, quite important. And number three, not important. So it goes on as well onto another page. Your writing skills, it looks at if you can do it or if you can't do it. Then it looks at your spoken communication. It also looks at things like information technology, if you're good at things like that. Also working with numbers, revision and exam techniques. So skills audits are there to help you, but they are there to identify any skills gaps. And it allows for you to understand areas as an individual on what areas you need to improve. So if you're not good at IT, it will identify that. If you're really good with numbers, it will identify that. If you're not good with IT, what it will do is get you to do some IT courses. So it identifies your skill set. Does anyone do a skill set at their work? Anyone? Nobody?
Yes, they do.
You do. Is it quite clear for you to understand which areas need more developmental issues?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why they run every monthly supervisions, and it
Yeah.
keeps to assess your skill set and be able to know things you're lacking and things.
Yes. And that's good, isn't it? Because what does it help you with? What does it help the organization establish?
Mm,
I
well, it
think
helps to reinforce the strength of the team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it,
And
it
what
helps
strengths
you
you
as a
have as
person
well?
to develop your skills as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
and
But
bring you on board.
it helps you identify where you need to improve, doesn't it, really? So it's really good to do a skills audit, and because it'll show you areas where you're really good at, and it'll show you areas where you need more training. It may not be a huge amount of training, but it may be something that is quite minimal, but there's a need for it. And then you've got mentors and tutors. So mentors are a valuable asset, okay? And it's creating this, forming a trust relationship. And a mentor is someone typically who provides feedback to you, gives you advice and guidance to their mentee. Whereas a tutor, on the other hand, is someone who is there to provide academic assistance. Okay, so there's a difference between a mentor or a tutor. Okay, but the mentor is a really good valuable source for you, because you need to be guided by someone if you're starting a job quite new, or you need to be mentored by someone. I mean, I don't know. Mentoring is really good if in the health and social care profession you may get someone, a nurse or something, who will mentor you to make sure that you are following all the policies and the procedures of the organization. You're making sure that you are meeting the standards and requirements, and you have the experience as well. Do you think mentoring is good? Has anyone ever had a mentor? If you started your job quite newly, has anyone ever had a mentor that supported them? In my job, when I started teaching 18 years ago, I had a mentor, and the mentor was there to help me, identify if I need any sort of information, any sort of extra developmental areas, or if I needed any sort of, more skills, or, they were showing me how to reflect on things, any developmental areas. So mentors are really, really good to have, if you're starting a new organization, work in a new organization. So has nobody ever had a mentor then? No?
I
Faustina?
have, but way back in Ghana, not here.
Okay. Okay. And did they help you?
Very, very well. Very,
Good.
very much.
Yeah. And you learn new things from a mentor as well, don't you? So it helps. So the next one is looking at, let me just reduce this a little bit of size, is looking at explaining 4.3, explain how to write a SMART target for your own personal development. So you look at a SMART target being for your personal development here. Your SMART targets are looking at your specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And here you work through what is important for you, what is your development, and how to set good SMART goals to advance more in your career. So this diagram has a SMART goal here, and it's an example. So when it comes to time to define any sort of your goals or anything, you will need to put a SMART plan in place. And here, one of the goals was to identify how to use Harvard referencing. So the specific in the SMART was the key component, and the objective was I want to be able to do Harvard referencing while writing my assignments. The measurable, the M in SMART, was Harvard referencing from two types: direct quotes and in-text referencing, and then paraphrasing as well. And then the A from the measurable, the SMART acronym, is the task feasible. So if it's achievable, you undertake some activities to learn and develop Harvard referencing skills, watch a video on Harvard referencing, read a presentation, and use relevant sites to help you reference. And then the R from SMART acronym, are sufficient resources available? So yes, you have referencing generators to be able to practice Harvard referencing, and then the time bound, which are what are the start dates. So it could take you 3 or 4 weeks. So this was an example in regards to writing a SMART acronym, how you would write that, why there's a need to write a SMART acronym, and what would you use to write it. So it gave you a bit of an example, and you know it will help you put together, you know, your goals, okay, and make sure you identify your goals and make sure that they are, you know, you are able to identify and make sure they are achievable. So you prioritize your goals, you make sure you set deadlines for yourself, whether you can meet them, is there any threats, you know, and whether you are meeting the progress of them as well. So making sure, you know, you'll meet the SMART acronym. So the SMART acronym are looking at areas of development, and it defines, you know, what your goals are, ensures that you have got objectives in place, and there's a time framework of trying to meet them as well, whether it's effective, whether it's specific, whether it's measurable, and whether it's achievable as well, and if there's any time bound. And you know you know, knowing your own SMART framework can help you succeed and develop. And also it could be anything really small like Harvard referencing, or it could be something quite large. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a big thing. It could be something quite small. So the next slide looks at a template that you could look at, and that would be use the smart plate, and it's on available on Moodle for you, and it looks at the key components, the S, the M, the A, the R, and the T, and the objectives that you need to meet. Another example is there in regards to your SMART acronym. So my personal development, short or long term, how I will achieve my targets. So what activities do I need to undertake to achieve my objectives, and what support do I need, and the date of completion. Why do you think it's important to have a date of completion? Is that a goal for you to meet? Why do you think it's so important to have a date of completion? Set yourself a date. Why do you think it's so important? Victor, why do you think it's so important, Victor, to set your date of achievement? Anyone? Anyone? Why do you think it's so important?
Um, I think it's important to set a day of achieving your goal, because if you don't set a date, you tend to prolong the whole thing. But when you're working with date and time, it enables you
Yes.
to be on track, and it enables you to be on check in
Yeah.
whatever that you are doing.
Yes. And you have goals, don't you, in place?
Yeah,
Yeah. And you need to meet them goals by this deadline.
exactly.
So you've got to 4.4, you need to create own personal development plan for a chosen career. And here you will look at things like creating a personal development plan for a chosen career. So you'll set yourself goals, you'll identify, plan, action, and record and review. They're the core learning process that you will go through. So you'll set yourself goals, you'll prioritize these goals, you'll set yourself deadlines, like we said. You recognize any sort of threats of your own personal, develop your skills, make sure you use your support networks, and keep checking, reviewing all the time, that you are keeping on top of that, making sure that you are reviewing this all the time. So career development plans often include things like a summary statement. They will have short-term and long-term goals. It will have your current skills, developing skills, resources, action items such as continued education or trainings, professional development opportunities for potential work projects. You know, so this is a career development plan often, and what kind of things come within that section. The key areas of development are things like knowledge. Okay, so key areas of development would be getting updated, making sure you are updated with your knowledge, especially in health and social care. You need to make sure that you are up to date with any knowledge, any sort of specific developments, any sort of new things that have come into the organization that you need to keep on top of. You need to make sure you have your skills. You need to demonstrate a knowledge of and the use of your skills in the workplace situation. You need to be your behavior. You need to have an awareness and show demonstrable use of appropriate values, conduct and relationship in your work skills, workplace situation. And you need to always be self-assessing and reflecting, reviewing what you're doing, making sure you're reviewing it all the time. Why do you think it's so important to review and reflect all the time? Anyone,
Uh,
why do you think?
I think review helps you to kind of know the areas where you are missing points,
Okay,
and for you to be able to work on those points where you are missing. Then when you get to review them, then you get to reflect on it, and then you make corrections.
yeah.
And then yeah, you see the loopholes and then how to fix it up.
And why do you think self-assessment is important?
Self-assessment is important because at times like this we don't actually get to see ourselves making a
Yeah,
I think self-evaluation is very, very important
yes,
because it enables you to know the area where you are
yeah,
making errors or maybe areas where you are lacking and stuff like that. I don't know how to place it, but
yeah,
self-evaluation is very, very important.
yeah. So,
It
so
helps
when
in
you,
correction.
Nobody,
It helps
I
in
think
corrections
no
and
one is perfect.
sorry,
self-development. It helps in corrections and self-development.
yeah. Did
And
someone
I
else want to say
think,
anything?
yeah,
Yeah,
nobody is perfect. And
yes,
whatever you do, there will be some lapses.
yeah.
So as you
When
evaluate,
Faustina, nobody is perfect. Everyone, every day you're learning something new.
yeah.
So,
So when you assess,
yeah,
you know where you are lacking, you
yes,
know your strength, you know your weakness, you know where to develop, and even where to even what to bring in again to make you a better person, to sell
yeah.
yourself out to the public.
Identifying your skills, identifying your strengths, your current skills, your weaknesses is really important because you're self-assessing, but also you're reflecting on your practice. So and if people give you feedback, it's really good to take on board that feedback. When you do a personal development plan, will you take into account your self-assessment or your feedback given by someone?
I see. Self-assessment is not just about you seeing your weaknesses. So
Yeah,
it's about you identifying your strength. Because sometimes you
yeah,
might have some feedbacks that might not align with what you represent, and if
yes,
you're not self-aware of what you're doing, it might throw you off. So when
yes,
you self-assess yourself, then you'll be able to know when you are in line with what you are expected or what you are
yeah.
supposed to do. Then you could be able to know how to manage feedbacks.
Yes. So it's really important to identify any sort of areas that you can manage and improve. For M1, that's the merit one, carry out a skills audit to identify your needs. So you use the health and social care worker skills audit. Again, all these templates are available on Moodle for you. Okay, so your skills audit, your element of your personal development plan, they are all available as templates on Moodle that you can go on to use. If when we go through the assignment discussion, you will need to use these. Okay, so these are all available on Moodle. All these recordings will be available on Moodle, so you've got a better idea of what you're doing. So now we've finished learning outcome 4. These are some of the references that you can use for it. I'm just going to give you an overview of what we've been through today. So you've got a little bit of a summary and a recap on what we've been through. So learning outcome 4, we looked at understanding how to plan our own personal and professional development in health and social care. We looked at stages in professional and personal development. We looked at the SMART targets. We also looked at what personal development plan looks like and looked at how to create one with an example. We looked at the 7 steps to writing a personal development plan, like setting yourself goals, prioritizing these goals, setting yourself deadlines. We also looked at how the 9 steps of completing a personal development plan. I showed you an example of a personal development plan, which again is available on Moodle for you. And we also looked at identifying developmental needs, such as taking feedback, reflecting, and skills audit. We also looked at why team meetings and co-workers are so important to work with, and why feedback from others is really important. We also looked at reflective practice in learning outcome 4, and looked at training and research and why that's so important when it comes to any organisation. It doesn't have to even be the health and social care setting. It could be any organisation that provides training and research. But for health and social care setting, we have to meet the standards and requirements of the care certificate. We also looked at a skills audit today, and looked at an example of a skills audit and what different type of skills there are, and whether how well you can do them and why that is so important to do. We looked at mentors and tutors, and we looked at explaining how to write a SMART target, and provided you an example of a SMART target with Harvard referencing. And we also looked at a template of SMART target, which is, again, all these templates are available on Moodle for you to look at. We also looked at creating our own personal development plan for a chosen career, and we looked at the procedure, the learning process, so identifying, planning, action, record, and review. We then went on to look at career development plan and often what it includes. So it includes a summary statement, your short-term goals, your long-term goals, your current skills, your developing skills, resources, and action items such as training. We also looked at the key areas of a developmental, such as knowledge, skills, behavior, and self-assessment and reflective practice. And these are all available, the templates on Moodle for you. Okay. Has anyone got any questions on learning outcome 4 before we finish the session today?
Mine is not a question per se.
Yeah, is that Faustina?
Yes, please.
I can't hear you properly,
I said,
Faustina.
whatever you've taught us today, in fact, it's a new thing to me, and I've taken it in good
I
faith.
can't hear you,
And
Faustina, sorry.
what I'm saying is,
Yeah,
whatever you've taught us today, or you started teaching us till now, in fact,
yeah.
it's a new thing, it's a new platform altogether. And it would have been good if we had known it earlier to improve
You,
upon ourselves.
you
But
had
since
known
you've taught us,
what, sorry, I don't know, you had known what
if
earlier?
if if we had known, we have had an idea of what you taught us from the beginning till now, at least we would have been much or more better person than now.
Yeah,
So
I
once
think,
you've taught us, it's not a promise though, but we will do our best. And I'm not
no,
talking to
you
everybody.
will, Faustina, all the resources are available on Moodle for you.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you will have an assignment discussion session next week where you can
Okay.
ask more questions around the assignment, which I'll discuss it
Yeah.
more with you
But
next week.
what I'm saying is, it's a pleasure, and it is good knowing it, knowing what you've taught us.
Oh, thank you,
And
Faustina. Thank you. It's
in
been
fact,
lovely teaching this group, and
yeah,
I like discussion. I like discussion, and I think it helps you understand. So when you speak, Faustina, when Henry speaks, or Catherine, or Chino, or anyone, I give each other ideas. So it's
I'm the
like
late
team
comer
working.
today.
and we are so grateful for that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
It's
I like that
been
style
it's a
of
very
a
good
teaching.
teaching. Yeah.
I don't know if you like that style of teaching, but I like
oh,
that
we
style of
do.
teaching.
We've enjoyed having you
Yeah,
as
thank
our
you.
tutor,
Thank you
and
so
Thank
much,
you very
everything
much.
you've
Faustina.
taught
Yeah.
us. We are so grateful.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
it's
know,
okay. Any questions you need, Tolu, anyone, just ask. And I like your contribution because you will understand. And if you explain in your own situations, then others will understand as well. So if you've got no questions or anything, you will have next week with me as well, the last session, which is the assignment discussion session. Ebooks and all the recordings are available on Moodle for you. Any additional resources. If you've got any questions, email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk or email me. It's shazia@ukvarsity.co.uk. Okay? Does anyone else have any other questions before we finish the session off? And I will see you all in the assignment discussion session next week. No questions?
Well, I missed this. This is the first class I've.
It's okay. They're all recorded, Henry. All the classes are recorded and they're all available on Moodle, okay? The
All right.
next week, please make sure you come next week because we've got the assignment discussion and I want to go through it so you all, achieve all the learning outcomes and the assessment criteria, okay?
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for attending today's session and I will see you next week. All of you, have a nice week, okay? Thank
Thank
you.
you, Shazia. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tolu.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
Thank you.
Shazia.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Have a nice week, everyone.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye.
Bye.